A Japanese mother sits on a bench outside her daughter's school. She's not watching the door. Her eyes are somewhere else, the sky, a passing bird. But she's present. Her phone is in her hand, not to scroll, but to be reachable. Her daughter will emerge. She will see her mother sitting there, calm, unbothered, completely available. The daughter will wave. The mother will smile. Nothing will be said about where she's been or what she's done. And yet, in that moment, the daughter knows everything. I am seen. I am trusted. I am safe. This image matters because what happens in that moment of quiet presence is exactly what most Western parents are trying to achieve with parental controls, and missing by miles. When you think of parental controls, you think of apps, passwords, tracking software, surveillance. But what if I told you that the most effective approach comes not from tighter monitoring, but from deeper trust? And what if the science actually proves it works? Here's what happens in most homes when a parent sets up parental controls. They download an app. They enable location tracking. They set screen time limits. They password protect everything. And they do it for the right reason. They want to keep their child safe. But there's a problem with this approach that neuroscience is only now fully explaining. When a child feels watched rather than trusted, when they sense surveillance instead of presence, something shifts in their brain. Their prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for good decision-making, impulse control, and moral reasoning, actually becomes less active. Meanwhile, their amygdala, the fear center, lights up. They're not learning to make better choices. They're learning to hide better. This is where Japanese parenting offers a completely different model. There's a concept called Mimamoru. Written with two characters, one meaning to watch, and one meaning to protect. Together, they mean something we don't quite have a word for in English. It's a gentle kind of observation. A presence without intrusion. Your child knows you're there. Not spying. Not hovering. Just aware. Available. Present. The science behind this is remarkable. A study from the University of Rochester, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, found that children who felt their parents supported their autonomy while remaining present actually developed stronger self-regulation than children under strict surveillance. They weren't rebelling. They weren't hiding. They were internalizing the values of the people they trusted. That's the key difference. There's another concept in Japanese parenting called Amae. Written with characters meaning to lean on and to depend on. It describes a specific kind of secure dependency, the deep comfort of knowing someone loves you unconditionally, even when you make mistakes. It's not permissiveness. It's unconditional presence paired with clear boundaries. And research from the Max Planck Institute, published in Developmental Psychology, shows that children who experience this kind of secure attachment actually make more cautious choices online and offline. Not because they fear punishment, but because they've internalized that someone they trust is paying attention. This is where the Western approach and the Japanese approach completely diverge. Western parenting, especially with technology, tends to operate from a foundation of suspicion. You set controls because you assume your child will make bad choices if you're not watching. You track their location because you don't fully trust their judgment. You restrict apps because you fear what they might do unsupervised. And yes, sometimes this prevents immediate problems. But it also sends a message. I don't trust you. I expect you to fail. And when children receive that message repeatedly, they stop trying to earn trust. They just try to work around the controls. Japanese parenting operates from a different foundation. The assumption is, my child is trustworthy, and my job is to create conditions where they can practice being trustworthy. Parental controls aren't tools of surveillance. They're training wheels, guardrails, structures that say, here are the rules, and I trust you to follow them because I love you, not because I'm afraid of you. So how do you actually implement this? Here is your first tactic. Before you set up any parental controls whatsoever, have a real conversation. Not a lecture. A conversation. Sit down with your child and say, we're going to set up some guardrails together because I want to keep you safe and help you develop good digital habits. I trust you. These aren't punishments. They're tools to help you learn. Then ask them what they think is fair. What limits do they think make sense? Where do they think they might need help? You're not giving them total freedom to decide. You're inviting them into the structure. That partnership matters more than the specifics of what you restrict. Here is your second tactic. When you set the actual controls, be transparent about what you're doing and why. Don't hide these settings. Walk your child through them. On Android with Google Family Link, show them that you can see their location. Explain that it's not because you don't trust them, but because you want to know they're safe. Show them the app restrictions you're setting. Explain the screen time limits not as punishment, but as a rhythm. Just like bedtime helps their body rest, screen time limits help their brain rest. On iPhone, do the same with family sharing. The goal is that your child feels observed, not spied on. They know you're paying attention. And they know why. That knowledge itself changes their behavior. Here is your third tactic. Once a week, have a casual check-in. Not an interrogation. Not a review of their screen time data. Just a conversation. Ask them what they found online that was interesting this week. Ask if anything confused them or worried them. Ask what they're curious about. You're gathering information about their digital life through relationship, not through surveillance. This is Mimamoru in practice. Your child is learning that being seen by someone who cares is actually a good thing. When you use parental controls this way, something shifts. Your child stops trying to bypass them because they're not trying to escape your control. They're honoring your trust. They're practicing the decision-making skills they'll need when the training wheels come off. And research shows they actually develop stronger internal regulation because they're not operating from fear. They are operating from the security of knowing someone they trust is paying attention. The goal of parental controls isn't to control your child into adulthood. It's to teach them to control themselves. It's to create the conditions where they practice making good choices because they want to, not because they're afraid. That's the difference between obedience and integrity. And that's what Japanese parents understand about presence, about observation, about trust. If this video shifted something in the way you see parental controls, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more on how the world's wisest cultures quietly build independent, trustworthy children, subscribe. There's a lot more coming. See you in the next one.